Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the exact secrets to sounding natural, fluid, and, well, totally confident in your everyday English interactions. If you've ever felt like you have all the right vocabulary locked in your head, but it just kind of gets jumbled when you try to actually speak, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. Let's fix that. Okay, let's jump right into a struggle I think we can all relate to. Just picture this. You step up to the counter, you're ready for that morning caffeine fix, but suddenly the barista fires off this rapid-fire question. The espresso machine is loudly hissing in the background. The line of people behind you is letting out a collective sigh, and your mind just goes completely blank. Honestly, it happens to the absolute best of us. It's a totally universal experience. But today, we're going to look at how mastering the fundamental building blocks of the language can act as an anchor so you never have to freeze up in those high-pressure moments again. So here's our game plan for today. We're taking a really structured approach. We'll start right at the foundation with core verbs. Then we'll build those pieces up into basic sentence patterns, add some native flair with phrasal verbs, and finally apply the whole shebang to a completely natural, real-world coffee shop conversation. All right, let's jump straight into part one, the foundation, core verbs. To build anything strong, obviously, you have to start at the base. It's actually fascinating when you look at essential vocabulary data, like the Oxford 3000 list. A massive percentage of fluent everyday communication actually relies on just a handful of these action words. But, of course, there's a catch, right? Many of these common verbs are irregular, which usually means a ton of tedious rote memorization. However, it is incredible how these notoriously tricky irregular verbs become so much easier when you just group them by patterns. Think about verbs like bet, cost, cut, and hit. Whether you're talking about the present, the past, or using a perfect tense, they literally never change. I cut the paper today, I cut the paper yesterday. Grouping them conceptually like this completely eliminates the guesswork and makes the whole learning process feel way more intuitive. And even when all three verb forms do change, organizing them spatially reduces that confusion immensely. You can see a totally predictable pattern in the vowel changes. Think of blow, blew, blown, or grow, grew, grown, and know, knew, known. Once you realize there's an underlying rhythm, you aren't just memorizing random disconnected words anymore. You're actually learning the structural melody of English. It's exactly like finding the underlying beat in a song. Once you hear it, it becomes second nature to just replicate it in your own conversations. Okay, moving right along to section 2, building basic sentence patterns. So, with our solid core verbs in hand, we can turn to language expert Tanya Tressler to see how we actually connect them. The really crucial takeaway here is that English relies heavily on a subject-verb-object structure, or SVO. Think of the phrase, cats chase mice. It's short, it's punchy, and perfectly complete. But the real magic happens when you expand on it. You can easily grow that simple idea by systematically adding articles, adjectives, and adverbs right into that exact same structure. So, cats chase mice smoothly evolves into the hungry cats always chase the scared mice. Notice how you haven't changed the fundamental foundation of the sentence at all. You've really just decorated it. It's a super reliable way to express more complex thoughts without getting lost in the grammar weeds. Let's actually break that decoration process down even further, step by step. By mentally stacking these components, we safely transition from very basic beginner grammar to highly descriptive intermediate-level fluency. You start simple, just a noun and an adjective, fast car. Then layer on an article, a fast car. Then just drop in an adverb, a really fast car. This formula is essentially a safety net. It works every single time, giving you the power to stretch your sentences confidently without forcing you to untangle complex grammar rules on the fly. It's structural, it's logical, and it takes all the fear out of building longer sentences.
If you find this lesson helpful in improving your English, subscribe to English Clarity for more simple, practical, and effective English lessons. Keep learning, keep practicing, and let's build your confidence together.
Which brings us perfectly to section 3, sounding native with phrasal verbs. Now that we've got our solid structures down, it's time to talk about style. To truly sound natural and comfortable in English, we have to inject some color into those textbook structures. Native English speakers constantly bypass literal, formal terms in favor of phrasal verbs, which totally transform the tone of everyday sentences. Just think about it. Nobody opens their eyes in the morning and formally declares, "I must stop sleeping now," right? They just say, "I need to wake up." And if you had an unexpected, expensive car repair, you probably wouldn't announce, "I reluctantly paid $200. You'd vent to your friend and say, I had to fork out $200. The phrasal verb adds emotion, it provides context, and it just lends a naturally relaxed rhythm to your speech. Let's explore a few high-value daily phrasal verbs from our source materials that you can immediately plug right into those sentence patterns we just talked about. It's amazing how taking a simple physical action like getting out of bed seamlessly becomes get up, or how the formal act of wearing clothing turns into the much more casual put on. We turn off a device rather than terminating its power. Starting a grand journey simply transforms into set off. And when you want to update a friend on your life over coffee, you catch up. These are small two-word combinations, but they instantly signal fluency. They act as these little shortcuts that make your conversational English sound native, relaxed, and deeply authentic. Finally, let's put it all together in Section 4, Real-World English at the Coffee Shop. Let's put all of these building blocks, the core verbs, the sentence patterns, the phrasal verbs, to the ultimate test in a fast-paced environment. The coffee shop requires quick listening and fast, structured responses. When you step up to that register, bracing yourself, you might not hear a polite textbook, "May I take your order?" Instead, you're likely going to hear something fast and blended like, "What can I get started for you?" This perfectly highlights exactly why learning natural spoken structures is so vital. It's informal, it's rapid, and if you aren't prepared for the realities of street-level English, it can easily throw you off balance and induce that total panic we talked about earlier. So, how do we craft the perfect response? Take a look at this great example from our Ingo dialogue source. Notice the simple core verbs the customer, Matt, uses, specifically try and have. He stacks these perfectly into those reliable sentence patterns we looked at and sprinkles in specific vocabulary like hazelnut to confidently build a complex, natural-sounding response. He doesn't use overly formal grammar, and he doesn't overthink it. He just uses the building blocks. I'm going to try something new and have vanilla and hazelnut, please. It flows perfectly, checking absolutely all the boxes for a smooth interaction. Now, as our real-life conversation sources point out, America is the land of choices. Once you order the drink, the questions absolutely do not stop. Do you want oat milk, soy milk, or almond milk? Do you want it iced or hot? And crucially, how is it being served? You're almost always going to be hit with a rapid-fire dine-in or takeout, or for here or to go. Mastering these short, incredibly common clarification phrases is the absolute secret to not freezing up at the finish line right as you're about to complete your order. Anticipating these choices gives you the conversational upper hand. And as you hand over your cash to finalize the order, here is a brilliant, highly effective pro tip to pull out at the counter. Instead of awkwardly taking back a handful of small coins you probably don't even want, you just casually say, "Keep the change." It's an incredibly polite gesture. It speeds up the line for everyone behind you, and most importantly, it makes you sound exceptionally natural while successfully completing your real-world transaction like an absolute pro. We've unpacked the core verbs, discovered how to safely expand them into rich sentence patterns, and explored how to add that crucial native flair with everyday phrasal verbs. Now that you have the blueprint for these conversational building blocks, the real fun begins. I highly encourage you to take just one piece of this explainer, maybe a brand new phrasal verb, or that fantastic SVO expansion technique, and confidently try it out in the real world today. Go order that coffee, strike up that conversation, and enjoy the process. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. So what's stopping you from sounding totally fluent today? Get out there and start building.
Thank you for learning with English Clarity. Your support helps us create more free English lessons. Leave a comment below with your answer or your favorite part of today's lesson. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who wants to improve their English. Until next time, keep practicing and keep speaking.